This is the Only in Miami show, sponsored by Morningside Mortgage Corporation of Bay Harbor Islands. Tonight's show is hosted by Grant Stern. Find out more about our sponsor at www.morningsidemortgage.com. That's www.morningsidemortgage.com.
This is the Only in Miami show, and I'm your host, Grant Stern. You can find me on Twitter at Grant Stern and everything about the show at www.onlyinmiamiradio.com. News, politics, culture, and more. Check it out at onlyinmiamiradio.com. And we are back live. We've got a great show planned for you tonight, so stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Only in Miami show, and I'm your host, Grant Stern. You can find me on Twitter at Grant Stern and everything about the show at www.onlyinmiamiradio.com. News, politics, culture, and more. Check it out at onlyinmiamiradio.com. And we are back live with Lori Hanson. She is the Chief of Research at the Children's Trust, and Rachel Spector. She's a Senior Program Manager there. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So tell our listeners who have never heard of the Children's Trust before what the Miami-Dade County Children's Trust does and how they can reach out to you guys, because it's a very important group and not everybody in Miami-Dade County has heard of you guys, but you guys even have your own special 111 number, right?
Well, we fund a 211 helpline for the community, but the Children's Trust is actually a special district that funds programming for children and families across the community. And our goal is to really help improve the lives of children across our community to succeed in life and in school and in lots of different ways. So we fund programs from birth through childhood and youth programming, parenting programs, family support programs, school health programs, all the way through to the transition to adulthood with a lot of our youth enrichment.
Now, what I had mentioned earlier in the program to our listeners is that you guys have a special new program, and we're here to talk about it. It is the Thrive by 5 program. But isn't this like something brand new? Like you guys got a very large grant, and this is something new to the community.
Well, actually, the community funds the Children's Trust.
Yes.
Through property taxes. And so this funding, it has been invested for more than 15 years through the Children's Trust. We've been able to make some major changes in our Thrive by 5 initiative within the last year to improve some of the early learning work that we've been doing, to have higher quality childcare available throughout our community, especially in places where that doesn't really exist right now.
Right. Well, one of the interesting things that I noticed about this is that this program isn't just for children, but it's also for teachers, right? Can one of you ladies explain how teachers should actually reach out to the trust and why? Because it seems very important.
Sure. So we believe that much of the efforts around improving the quality of early learning programs is directly through teachers. And so we fund multiple strategies for teachers to improve their teaching practices, which we know will ultimately impact children's readiness for kindergarten. So we encourage teachers to take advantage of our Early Learning Career Center and our Teacher Scholarship Program. Scholarships are available for teachers to take 4-credit courses in our local universities, targeted teacher training. We also have a salary supplement program. So
now, we had the president of the Teachers Union on here a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about that initiative, which is 362 on the recent ballot. So how does this impact teachers for those teaching children 5 years of age and younger?
So teachers that work in early learning programs, so that 362 on the ballot was really focused on school-age children. So this is really focused on early learning educators. Unfortunately, in our community, early learning educators make the median salary is $8.50 an hour.
So that's about $17,000 a year.
Correct.
That's not a lot of money for the people that are teaching our youngest children, who are the most impressionable.
Definitely doing the most important job. And so we have a salary supplement program in place to assist teachers that remain in their childcare programs, because continuity is an important aspect of high quality care. And
in other words, to retain them in the profession, whereas right now they're probably doing that, but looking for higher paying work as they go.
Correct. Retain them in the profession and retain them in the program that they're currently working,
Sure.
and incentivize them to improve their education. So as they move up the salary scale, they're eligible for higher salary supplements 2 times a year.
Well, that's the thing. Like you mentioned, the initiative 362 covers, the older the teachers for the older kids, and they have a union, but the younger educators and the educators for the younger children do not have a union, right? So really, you guys are kind of stepping into this big void. And how many educators are teaching children 5 years of age and younger? I mean, roughly.
Thousands. I would say, I don't know, 20,000 or more.
That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. So what's the amount available in wage supplement for these teachers who are, with our youngest
The
students?
Children's Trust is investing this year $1.2 million in payments directly to early learning educators for salary supplements.
And in amounts ranging from...
It ranges from $300 a year to $3,000 a year, depending on your education level.
I mean, that can make a massive difference for somebody that's making $17,000 a year to have a $3,000 a year increase, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it does.
So,
And if I can just interject.
go ahead, Lori,
we've
please.
Also, some of the research that we've done to actually look at the teachers who are taking advantage of these supplements, we actually have been able to see that they are providing higher quality care. So through observations of their teaching in the classrooms, we see that they're actually providing greater, because sometimes the question is, well, do you always want to retain every teacher? Maybe some of them aren't doing as great, but we've actually been able to show that our participants in the wage supplement program are delivering higher quality care. So I think that's an important
Well,
benefit.
Dr. Hanson, can you tell us about some of the other programs that you have that are directly to students?
For young children, I can let Rachel talk about how one of the things we've transitioned to this year is to add a child scholarship element for families that, for different reasons, may not qualify for child care subsidies that they previously were receiving. Do you want to talk about that, Rachel?
So
Sure.
so we're families are required by law every year to recertify for their federal child care subsidy.
Okay.
And what we're seeing in our community is many families are being put in the position of choosing between improving their job situation, so taking a raise or a small promotion, and then losing their child care subsidy.
Which is kind of crazy. It's a huge disincentive
Absolutely.
for parents who are making less money to make more money.
Yes, because the cost of childcare, if
It's
you're just on the
burdensome.
open
It's
market,
very expensive.
It's very expensive, and it's usually not offset by any proportional raise you might be getting in a lower income job.
Right. So we're in our new child scholarship program supporting parents up to 300% of the federal poverty rate level, which is double the requirement to participate in the federal subsidy program.
Well, what does that number equate to? 300% of the federal poverty level. Is that about
So-
$60,000 a year?
That would be
That sounds about right.
60,000, yeah, for a family of 4.
Yes.
Right. I mean that so that means a lot of people are eligible for this.
Yes.
I mean, the median income here is only about $55,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an average wage, you could actually get a scholarship towards your child who's 5 years of age and less, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what can you apply that scholarship towards?
You can take your scholarship and you can use it at any high quality early learning program that's participating in our Thrive by 5 early learning improvement system.
Okay. And how many of them are there in Miami-Dade County?
How many programs? There's 53 right now. So we just rolled out the program in August. There's 53 programs that are what we say tier 4 or 5, high quality at this time. They are spread out throughout the county. So parents may use their scholarships at any of those programs.
Well, that's a big deal for parents of younger children because that's, where there's the least social services. I mean, a child's 5 years old, you take them to school, and that's the center where everything happens. Everything goes from there. But below 5, where do you go?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, where can our listeners take this conversation onto the internet after the program if they want to find out more about the Miami-Dade, the Children's Trust here in Miami-Dade?
Well, for general information about the Children's Trust, our website is www.thechildrenstrust.org. And if they're interested in specifically the child scholarship or child care subsidy information, that's managed through the Early Learning Coalition of Miami-Dade and Monroe. And
their website is www.elcmdm.org.
Okay, repeat that a couple of times.
www.elcmdm.org. That's for the application for the school readiness subsidy, which will then put you in, it would pass you through to qualify for the Children's Trust Scholarship.
Gotcha. Because, I mean, it's important to make sure that people know there's a third-party website if you want to apply for the Children's Trust Scholarship, and it is
www.elcmdm.org.
And we're going to take a very short break, and we'll be right back. This is the Only in Miami show. Welcome back. This is the Only in Miami show, and I'm your host, Grant Stern. You can find me on Twitter at Grant Stern and everything about the show at www.onlymiamiradio.com. News, politics, culture, and more. Check it out at onlymiamiradio.com. And we are back live with Dr. Lori Hanson. She is the Chief of Research, Evaluation, and Strategic Planning at the Children's Trust, and Rachel Spector. She's a Senior Program Manager there. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me live in studio tonight.
Thank you for having us.
So let's talk about the program that we had mentioned during the break. You had mentioned that there's a program that is to help children 0 to 3 years old. It's a book club, right, for children 0 to 3, yeah?
Well, actually, our current book club is for 3-year-olds. So the year that the child is 3, they can get a book mailed to their house every month. That is a program that we are planning over the next year to expand to actually be a Thrive by 5 book club, which would start at birth and go up until the child turns 5. We don't have that in place yet, but what we do have in place, and we have for the last 7 years, is the monthly book club for 3-year-olds. The Read to Learn book club. And people can find information about that on our website as well, the childrenstrust.org.
Well, that's really wonderful because it's so important to start them reading early. What's the impact of starting children reading books earlier in their lives?
It's a critical exposure, and just to have the child know what a book is and know that what they can learn and how they can enjoy time with another significant adult in their life. What we try to convey to parents is that even if parents are not themselves readers, they can use books. They can look at pictures with their children. They can point to things. They can talk about what they see in the books. So we often have, we do have an option for people to get books in Spanish. We have some Haitian Creole books available as well. But we also give parents information with the books about how to use the books with their children and really explain that you don't have to really be reading word for word. It's more about that interaction, that give and take, and giving the child that exposure to the early reading environment.
Well, I mean, children's books are very expensive because children, get bored and they want something else. How often do you guys interact with the kids once they turn 3 right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We have an array of early literacy supports in addition to the book club. We are in a number of, I think, about 60 or 70 different pediatric clinics across Miami-Dade County where we have a Reach Out and Read program. So the doctors actually give prescriptions to parents to read with their baby, with their young child, and then they actually give books out at the well child visit, because especially in those early years, any parent who has a young one knows you go to the doctor a lot for checkups.
Sure,
so
that's a great contact point.
A great
right.
contact point. Then we have the book club for 3-year-olds. We also have another program called Books for Free as part of our Read to Learn program.
Oh, I can't figure out what that's about. Tell our listeners
Sure.
about Books for Free, though, because that sounds like something that a lot of parents could use for their kids.
Yes. Books for Free places bookshelves in high-need areas that we know maybe children don't have as much access to books, their own books, and stocks those bookshelves with books that interest kids from birth up to age 8. And then when children are in these places, they're public places that families visit, they can take a book and they can take it home for their own home library.
Oh, that's awesome. Where are some of the locations for Books for Free?
Those would be on our website. There are probably about 60 or 70 of those sites across the community. That program is operated by Miami-Dade County, Miami-Dade College Book Fair. And one of the interesting aspects to the program is they actually have drop-off donation locations in some of the more well-resourced areas of our community. So people can donate their books, that people who have lots of books and want to move on to the next age and want to donate their books from their children, can donate those. And then they use those as well as purchasing additional books to stock the books for free in the higher need areas.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, it's so important to get kids reading early because you can't create habits once they're teenagers, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before school entry, having that exposure to reading in the language-rich environment, we know that the exposure even to the number of words that children have, before they're age 3, can be millions of words different in more impoverished families.
Well,
And
how
so
does that impact children as they grow older?
Well, it just starts a gap that we see that, even at kindergarten readiness, some kids are much more ready for that school environment and to sort of take in the learning, and other kids aren't quite ready for that. And that gap just continues to grow. And so you see the disparities that sometimes when you get to 3rd grade reading levels or even graduation rates, those disparities grow. So we really need to start early.
Well, I want to point something out for our listeners. You just said that the gap is just in the number of words that these children hear. It's that important. It's just literally, if they hear words being spoken, they learn.
Absolutely.
Because they're listening to it and they're,
Absolutely. Even all the way to in utero, right? There's just that exposure to the language-rich environment is really critical. And so that's a message that we also give in a number of our parenting programs that we fund. So we fund several home visitation programs for pregnant moms and families with young children. And they really help the parents learn about child development and how to really support their children's growth and healthy development.
And there's one last thing I'd like to ask about, and I'm sure Rachel can probably tell us about it. It's listed as early childhood mental health consultation. And I think that that's a very serious topic, but it's something that people need in the community. How do you guys facilitate that at the Children's Trust?
So this is a new investment that we are just rolling out. We have 26 highly trained early childhood mental health professionals who are going to be working in our early learning programs in challenging neighborhoods, helping teachers to support the social emotional development of the children in the program. So creating very healthy emotional environments for children to thrive and to learn, working on...
Well, I feel like that's something that's neglected at times. They worry about, math and science and reading, but isn't emotional health a very important component of childhood?
I would argue it's one of the most important components of early childhood. So children, they could know all their numbers and their letters, but if they get to kindergarten and they cannot sit still, make friends, have relationships with teachers, it will be difficult for them to learn. So this is a new investment for us and something we're very excited about bringing to our community.
So what have we not talked about the Children's Trust, because we have about 1 minute left? What have we left out? Actually, we have a couple minutes left. But, I mean, a minute and a half. So what have we left out?
The one thing that's within the Thrive by 5 umbrella of early learning and early intervention is that we have a number of early intervention programs as well. So sometimes kids are, exhibiting different delays early on. The doctor, pediatrician might recommend that you get it checked out. And there are early intervention services funded through the state for different developmental delays. However, the state has raised the bar of how delayed a child needs to be to qualify for state services. And so the Children's Trust, recognizing that even a child that's a little bit delayed can actually really benefit, and maybe even benefit more from a child that's very delayed from early
they're
intervention.
Like more in the middle.
Yeah, and so we fund that gap, a program that basically when someone gets that assessment from the state, and if they don't qualify for state services, we have a program that they can refer them to for short-term early intervention, which can include speech language therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral management, all kinds of different things.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight. Can you tell our listeners one more time where they can find out more about the Children's Trust, where they can find out on their phone and reach out to you guys?
Sure. That's thechildrenstrust.org. And you can also follow us on Facebook.
And on Instagram, the Children's Trust.
And the phone number?
305
571 5700.
5700.
And you guys are at 211, right?
211 is the helpline that we fund for the community to tap into community services.
So just dial 211. If you want to talk with the Children's Trust, just dial 211. Ladies, thank you so much again for joining me in studio tonight.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for tonight's Only in Miami program. I'd also like to thank Doc Solomon, who's running for Miami-Dade County Democratic Party chairperson. And stay tuned to this space. We're going to have more candidates for that position on the program next week. And we'll be back next Monday night. This is the Only in Miami show.
Watching the sunrise.